Our voice, our truth. What does that mean to me? I'm a little guy from a small city called Mount Vernon, New York. And growing up in that city, which is only 4 square miles, there was a culture rich in entertainment. We had basketball, music, football. And then I took myself on to a whole nother level and traveled all around the world. So our voice, our truth, my voice has taken me around the world. My truth is that I love my city, I love my family, I love God, and I love you.
How y'all doing out there? My name is Jeff Red. This is my new single, Dance, Dance, Dance. Come on, y'all. This is the weekend anthem, so I want you to call your radio stations, play it on TV and everything, and just go like this. Check it out. The weekend's here and now it's time for us to have some fun. Forget about work, the party's just begun. The music's right and the DJ's got it going on. It's a party. Go get your handnails, clothes, and everything ready so you can look your very best. Go to the club and get on the dance floor and dance, dance, dance. Party people, all around the world, all around the world. Come on, y'all. It's a party. It's the weekend. We're gonna have fun. Dance, dance, check it out. Dance, dance. You're looking so good to me, baby. Moving that body like you should. The drinks are flowing and everything's right. And if I'm lucky, I might take you home tonight. Now don't be shy with me, baby, 'cause I can feel your vibe tonight. I know you're ready to have a good time, so let's dance, dance, dance tonight. Party people, all around the world, all around the world. Come on, y'all. It's a party. It's the weekend. We're gonna have fun. Dance. Everybody dance. The world should dance. Like I said, the new single, Jeff Fred, Dance, 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 available on all platforms. Thank you so much.
Dance, Dance, Dance. Written by myself, produced by my brother Dinky Bingham, and it was an idea that I came up with DJ Bent Rock, who's on WBLS. I was always going to the club, and it was a song in particular that I liked, so I wanted to do something in that vein. And when I told Bent Rock reached out to Dinky, and they came up with the groove. So then I started writing to it, man. And I wanted to do a song that was like a weekend song, because my dear brother, God rest his soul, Johnny Kemp, I did the song Friday Night Just Got Paid, and I wanted to do an anthem like that. So Dance, Dance, Dance is really a weekend anthem that was written by myself, produced by Dinky Bingham, and the idea came about with DJ Bent Rock and myself. Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Jeff Red, and I'm from Mount Vernon. Well, we call it Money Earning Mount Vernon, New York. Growing up in Mount Vernon, New York was a beautiful thing, man, because you had a lot of black people, middle-class black people who worked every day and raised their kids the proper way. We had a village of people who looked after each other's children, a village of people who helped others, because my mother helped a lot of people, and I saw that growing up. And Mount Vernon was a place where it was funny, we would all play basketball at the time, and we had a lot of athletes that came out of Mount Vernon: Lowe's Moore, Scooter McRae, Rodney McRae, Gus Williams, Ray Williams, Earl Tatum. It was a lot of basketball guys, so we all grew up wanting to be basketball players. So we were playing 4th Street. I was playing Graham School, and it's a funny story. I never forget playing in Graham School when I was playing against this guy And I never forgot his face, and it was Denzel Washington. He was playing ball up at Graham School. So you never knew who you would run into. He wasn't Denzel Washington then. He was just Denzel back then. But he played against him in Graham School. And it was that type of thing in Mount Vernon. You would, it would be the Heights, and then it's the South Side. So I lived in the Heights. And from the Heights, we had Pete Rock, CL Smooth, Heavy D. I think Al was from the South Side, or over there by Kingsbridge, if I'm not mistaken. Then you got JB Smooth, another one from Mount Vernon. So a lot of people that came out of Mount Vernon. And growing up there was a beautiful thing. All the high school, we only had one high school at the time. Now we have 4. And everybody knew everybody. So it was a great community growing up. A lot of people helping each other. And it was a city that I'll never forget. And I'm back in the city now on the school board. I'm an elected official. I actually have a meeting tonight. But also it's time now for the city to grow again. And hopefully the city is on the move to doing better things. Young Jeff Redd was inspired to sing by his father, Samuel Leroy Redd. God rest his soul. My sister and I were little. And every time company would come over, he would call us in the living room or wherever they were at and said, sing for him. So my sister and I, Jackie, would sing a song by Chi Chi and Pepe called I Know I'm in Love. I know that I'm in love. And I was like, yeah, baby. And you're the only one I'm thinking of. So we would do that all the time. So he passed away when I was 8 years old. So what I've heard about him is that he was a real avid music lover, and he also had wrote a song for Lena Horne. I'm not sure what the song was or anything like that, but I got all my musical talent from my father. And from this day on, I guess I took his dream and took it around the world. And by God's grace, like I said, he died at a young age, man, 32 years old. And my mother was left to raise my sister and I. But I was, by him passing away, I was very serious about getting into the music business from the time I was 10 years old. My mother didn't want me to get in the business. And years later, I had to wait till I was 18 to get in the music business. But, better late than never. So, that's the person who actually influenced me, who gave me the talent, and, I'm running with it now. My musical interest, of course, was my father. But what made me want to perform, we were living in a house with a lady named Miss Dorley, and she asked my mother if she could take my sister and I to a concert. At the time, I'm 10 years old. So we got in the car, drove into the city. I'm not sure we were going, waited on this long line for like an hour. And when we got inside, the lights went down, and all I heard is this guy saying, "Are you really ready for some super dynamite soul?" I didn't know who it was, and it was James Brown. He came out on the stage, and he started dancing and doing the split, and people were going crazy. And when I was 10 years old, I said, that's what I want to do. So I fast forward to probably 15 years later. They had conventions back then. Music business had conventions, and they had a convention called Jack the Rapper. It was always held in Atlanta, Georgia. And James Brown was out there, so they said, James Brown's in the room. So I waited outside his room for like 2 hours. And they said, all right, you can come in and take a picture. So I went in and took a picture, and I have that picture to this very day. And I told him that if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in the music business. And he smiled and said, thank you, young man. And his main thing was go to school, finish school, and handle your business. And not only James Brown, but you had Sam Cooke, Jackie Wilson, Michael Jackson, Donny Hathaway, Marvin Gaye. All those people were the ones who influenced my vocal style, because you take a little bit from everybody. And I tell a lot of people today who want to get in the music business and trying to understand what it is, it's not the music business that it was when we were coming up, because it was back then it was basically based on talent. You would get your deal based on your talent. Now you get your deal based on your likes and that sort of thing. So it's a different game. And that's something that we, the older group, have to understand, that we have to change and do a lot of social media and being able to connect with your fan base. And I thank God for shows like Tracks and Tales to come along and identify who we are and give us a platform again to tell the new generation, the things we've done and, those sort of things. One day, I went to get a record deal. Started going to different record labels. They said, yeah, we heard about you, because I was doing shows everywhere. I was doing shows at Ipanima's, opening up for D-Train, opening up for a lot of different people. And then when I actually went to get a record deal, everybody knew who I was, but they still didn't give me a deal. When I was young, I had a lot of offers to perform at the Apollo Theater. When I was 12, actually. And my mother didn't want me to perform. She didn't want me to get in the record business, period, because she was afraid I was going to get hooked on drugs. That was her main thing. You're going to get in there and you're going to be tired one night and somebody going to hand you something and say, here, take this, and then you're going to get hooked on drugs. So I had to wait till I was 18 years old to really start getting out there and getting my feet wet and getting noticed. So by getting noticed, I started performing at funerals, weddings, wherever there was a platform, I started performing at. Until one day, I went to get a record deal. Started going to different record labels. They said, yeah, we heard about you, because I was doing shows everywhere. I was doing shows at Ipanima's, opening up for D-Train, opening up for a lot of different people. And then when I actually went to get a record deal, everybody knew who I was, but they still didn't give me a deal. So Kurt Woodley knew a friend of mine, because I worked at General Motors, knew a friend of mine, Reggie Johnson. And Reggie Johnson, was funny, he said one day he was working and it was a flyer for a show, Reggie Wells. He said, yo, you should call and ask him if you can perform. Says, you know, I'll do it. So I called Reggie Wells, said, yeah, you can come down and perform. And after I performed with Reggie Wells, he introduced me to, I forgot the brother's name, man, who had the club called Ipanima's. I think it was on 54th Street in Manhattan. And I performed there, and what I liked about Ipanima's is I can go out and hustle and sell tickets and make money. So I could pay the band or pay to get my pictures done, pay to get my clothes made. And when that happened, man, I started then shopping a deal again. And Andre Harrell knew who I was. And he said, call me next week. Of course, you call him, you never get him on the phone. So Kurt Woodley was pressing him like, yo, you got to see this kid. So he came down to the Palace in New Rochelle, New York. He saw me perform, and he came backstage and he said, welcome to Uptown Records. And that was one of the greatest days of my life. And then at that point, people started hearing about me in Mount Vernon. And of course, by then, Heavy D was signed to Uptown. Albie Shore was on Uptown Management. And now here I come along being from Mount Vernon. And it was a great thing. So Andre Harrell had came to the Palace in New York and saw me perform, and I got my deal from there. So here we are, fast forward, now you sign your deal. And now I'm bringing in the demos that I've done. I did a demo of Freddie Jackson, You Are My Lady. It was a song that John Doty did. It was called No One Loves Me Better Than You. And then I always loved the Fatback Band's I Found Lovin'. So I brought in a rendition of that. And when I played it for him, I sat there, he was quiet. He said, yo, Money, this is whack. I said, what? I said, what? He said, this is whack. You got, yo, hold on. So he called Eddie F. And Eddie F had did a New Jack Swing version of I Found Lovin'. And then we had Mark Stevens, who's Shaka Khan's brother. He had produced the vocals on that. And then we had, at that time, signed Jodeci. So Jodeci did a lot of work. Devontae had produced a track. He produced 2 tracks on my first album. And Casey and JoJo sang all the background vocals. So it was interesting to see how Andre put everything together. Andre was like a genius at it. He was this generation's version of Berry Gordy. And I remember meeting Berry Gordy, and I remember wanting to be Berry Gordy. And of course I wanted to sing and write, but I just wanted to have this company that would put out great acts and write great music. And I actually did get a chance to meet Berry Gordy. But I remember before, right when I got my deal, Andre, like I said, used to come to the studio and give us, you know, tips on what to do and how to sing and all that stuff. But while working at General Motors, there was a little guy there named, not a little guy, but a guy named Little Jimmy. And Little Jimmy told me, yeah, my daughter sings. I'm like, okay, cool, you know, bring in a cassette, because we're going back to 1988, 89. And he brought the cassette in, and I liked it. It was some young girl singing a song It was a Anita Baker song. I said it was Caught Up in the Rapture. Somebody said something different. I don't remember. But I heard it and I said, yo, this is the voice of America, young America. And I'm thinking about how Motown's mantra was the sound of young America. And I said, this is the voice of young America. And like thinking about where it came from out of the crack era in a generation, I said, yo, this is going to be something special. So I gave the cassette to Kurt, Charlie, and Reggie and told them to give it to Andre. And when they did, Andre signed the deal right there. So, and that young lady, by the way, was Mary J. Blige. And I discovered her over at General Motors. So Father Little Jimmy had brought me over. So you go from Mary J. Blige, and then I had her singing background for me during my shows. And she sung, her first time on television was with me. And when I did the Apollo Theater, she was singing background. Her and the girl I grew up with, Karen Hall at the time, her name is Karen Lofton now. And once that happened, man, Mary took off. I had left Uptown after you called and told me, and I went to EMI, made an album over there. The name of the album was called Down Low. Now, Down Low back then doesn't mean what it means today. So, but, you know, I made an album called Down Low. And the minute the album was about to come out, EMI dropped the whole Black Division. So the album just went in limbo. After that point, years later, I got a job over at MCA Records doing A&R. The first project I worked on was a record by Salt and Pepper called Champagne. I worked on it with Herbie Lovebug. Well, he produced it. I was an A&R person. And that song won a Grammy. So the first project I worked on won a Grammy. After that, Jodeci had just put out an album. Heavy was doing the album on Jodeci. And then Jodeci, once Uptown dissolved, of course, they went straight to MCA. So while there, Jodeci, they wanted to make an album on Jodeci. And they couldn't get everything straight. So then they said, well, let's make an album on the two singers, which was Casey and JoJo. So they said, Jeff, you want to make the record since you know them, y'all were label mates. So I made their first album, which was Love Always. That album went on to sell 5 million. We had 3 Grammy nominations with that. And then I started working on a Regina Bell project. And that project was called Believe in Me. That album was nominated for a Grammy. So I got like maybe 4 or 5 Grammy nominations. I won 1 Grammy. And from that point on, I started helping people in the business. Started bringing in new producers like Rory Bennett. Rory Bennett wrote All My Life I Prayed for Someone like You, Him, and JoJo. And just working with my brother Mike Bell and all these guys who were young cats that were trying to get in the business. And the reason why I wanted to get in A&R is because I knew how difficult it was to get in the music business. And the thing about Uptown, which was so great, is that Uptown would leave the doors open and anybody could come up there and bring a demo so they can hear it. People would wait for you outside because at that point, Uptown used to be in Brooklyn, but then it moved into 1755 Broadway. And we would come out every day and there would be people outside waiting in the car, trying to get their records heard. And we would listen to everything, man. That was a whole concept we took. And that's the concept I took when I went into A&R. As people would call and say, yo, Jeff, somebody's downstairs. I say, I don't know who it is. Bring it up. Let them come up. And I'll listen to it. So that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get in A&R to help these young cats coming up. And by God's grace, I was able to do so. I helped a lot of cats, man, and I feel real great about that. Now, yeah, the Grammys and American Music Awards, the Soul Train Awards, those are great. But the beautiful thing is years later to hear someone say, you know, Jeff Red gave me this jewel and he was able to get me in. It was last week. It was funny. It was a young lady. Her name is Kelly Nicole Price. She's a dope songwriter and singer as well. And she had posted something last week, Jeff helped me. And that's what that's who Jeff Red is. If you want to know who Jeff Red is a guy, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a lover of music, but he also a lover of people, and he enjoys helping people get to their destination. I have 4 sons, Jeffrey, Jai, J, and J, and 6 altogether with my wife's son, Christian and Calvin. And together, you know, it's my job to really see that these guys get all the direction and tools that they need to go off into the world and do something for themselves. And my son, Jeffrey, is a producer as well. He has a company called FA Beats. He and I are getting ready to join forces and make this thing real big. And I mean, he's already put out projects. Go look him up, FA Beats, that's Jefebeats. and he's doing some great things musically down in Virginia Beach. He got 2 or 3 projects out already that's doing well in the community. So my thing is to get him up. So the main thing with Jeff Red enjoys helping people. He enjoys shining the light, and he enjoys just stepping back and watching people grow. I don't go around tooting my horn. There's a lot of other things I've done that I forgot about that will, you know, they will remind me eventually. So, but that's who Jeff Red is. Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Jeff Red. Come celebrate music culture with Tracks and Tales exclusively on FOXSOUL. Come here. This song is called Love High. Written and produced by a dear friend of mine, Mr. Timmy Allen. And I want to give this to Johnny May, because if it wasn't for my girl Johnny May, I would have never met Timmy Allen. Let's go.
I wanna take girl from the loving that you lay down on me, baby. Oh, I never had a love like you who can do the things you do so good. You know, you're the best thing that came into my life, girl. I wanna love high, girl. I'm so high, baby. Girl, I'm gonna love high, girl. I never been so high on a love, and I blame it all on you. Can't wait for it, girl. I gotta have it. I don't never wanna come down. My head starts spinning when you're loving me, around and around and around from ecstasy. And yeah. Don't let up, girl. Just keep on loving me till I'm gonna love high. Ooh, girl, I'm so high. Baby, you got me on a love high. And I blame it on you. Oh, I can't resist. Ooh, girl, I want you. Yes, I do. Oh, that feeling is much too strong. I wanna rock you all night long, girl. Ooh, baby, you know your love, it takes me on a love high. Girl, I'm so high, baby. Girl, I'm on a love high. Girl, I never been so high on a love. And I blame it all on you.
Thank you. Love High. Now, Love High is a song. It's a funny story about the song Love High. Going back to 1980 something, I was out handing flyers out in front of Madison Square Garden on 34th Street because I had a show at a club called Ipanema's. And this lady took my flyer, looked at me, took the flyer, and looked at me again and said, "So you're Jeff Red?" I said, "Yes," because I'm just starting out and I have a record out of anything. She said, "Oh, you performing?" She said, "All right, I'm going to tell my husband to come through." Her name was Johnny May. Johnny May is a great actress as well. So she had her husband come through. Her husband happened to be Timmy Allen. Timmy Allen produced songs like Put a Little Rush on Me for Stephanie Mills. He wrote We've Only Just Begun for Glenn Jones. He done a lot of stuff for High Five. He was responsible for Chris Brown. So he came to the show. And when he, after I performed, he said, yo, I got a song for you. And that song happened to be Love High. And when he played it for me, it was amazing. And he actually was the one who actually structured me as far as songs are concerned, because it was my first introduction into the music business. And he said that he was very patient. And Love High, to this day, man, is still played on the radio. We're going back 32 years, and that record is still playing on the radio. And I like to thank Johnny May for making a connection with Timmy Allen and myself. I left Uptown for two reasons. One reason was I felt like I wasn't getting the attention I needed as an artist. And me not knowing that I was a new artist, that it was a process. You know, it's like you want to come out and be this big artist, but it didn't work that way. And I didn't know that at the time. So I had a meeting with Andre, and he was telling me, yo, I got you set up. I'm gonna, you know, we're getting ready to take you to the next level. And in my hard-headed mind, I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is the place for me. He said, yo, I don't want you to leave. I said, yeah, but they had just brought in Christopher Williams. And I said, okay, Christopher Williams was on the New Jack City soundtrack. And I was like, yo, they're getting ready to take it. Then they did the MTV Unplugged with all the groups from Jodeci. I wasn't involved in that because I had left at the time. So I wanted to go over to EMI Records. My man, Gary Harris, God rest his soul, he brought me over to EMI Records. And I put out an album called Down Low. The first single off that album was Show You. Show You was getting ready to take off and do well, but then they just got rid of the black division. And at that point, I got out of the music business and I stopped singing for 15 years. And when I got back into the music business, not after the 15 years, but during that 15 years, that's when I went into A&R. So 15 years, not performing or doing anything, just helping others and making records for a lot of different artists. I decided to get back in the music business in 2006 and started performing. George Harrell had helped me get back in the music business, and not inside, but just performing and being Jeff Redd again. And from that point on, now it's been 16 years. I've been back performing and doing shows and traveling all over the world performing my hits and releasing new music here and there, but for the most part, just enjoying the music. Because at some point, when I was in the music business, I didn't enjoy it anymore. And I shouldn't have stopped, but I did. You know, that's something I heard Pharrell say the other day. You know, like if you get a bad deal or something don't happen, don't stop singing, don't stop creating, just keep going. That was great advice. I wish I'd heard that back then, but I stopped and I got back in it. So, you know, I just say to anybody out there, if you're having a rough time in the music business, if you're in it or you're trying to get in it and it doesn't seem, just keep creating. Because the business now is not what the business used to be. You can now put out your own music, get your followers, shoot your own videos, have all the total creative control. And if it's good enough, you're going to get a small fan base. You don't have to wait. It's no such thing now as a record that just takes off. That when a record takes off, it has a lot of money behind it. Once in a while, you have some records that the internet takes and they just take it and it goes away. But for the most part, they have a big machine behind it. So it'd be great to have a big record, but it's also cool to have a record that's minimal, that can get you 1,500 people, 2,000 people to follow you. And then you figure with 1,500, 2,000 people, if you're selling your music $10, $15, $20, you can make some money doing that. You know, you just keep putting out music. Like I tell my son, you have to constantly build your catalog. That's what you want to do. You want to build a catalog of music that people can go back to years later and listen to and say, man, this was great music. The 15-year gap, what did that teach me and what did I go through during that time? One, I was just mad at the business. Like I said, I didn't have anybody to tell me, yo, Jeff, it's cool, keep going. So during that time, I was managing a few groups, doing some writing, and of course, working. I got to work, got to eat. And when I came out of that 15 years from being that and then performing as an A&R, I started performing again. So what that 15 years taught me, one, being an A&R, you have to, you know, they had me making Bobby Brown records, Casey and JoJo records. I was working with Aaron Hall and all the Uptown guys because nobody else had the relationship with them the way I did. And Aaron Hall, they would call me, yo, we need you to fly to Texas and make sure Aaron does a show. And then I had made the Last Guy album. So I worked very closely with Teddy Riley, and that guy's a musical genius, because that Guy album was incredible. But when the album was done, they couldn't come together to promote it. And when you put out a record and you don't have the group to promote the record, radio just doesn't believe in the project. They're just saying, like, it was so, you know, the work with Teddy Riley was incredible. That 15 years taught me that I was not selfish, because I had to put Jeff Red in the back burner and then carry bags for artists, go to their rooms, make sure they got up. And also it taught me that, you know, there are different ways to make money in the music business. A lot of people want to be artists, but I was an artist, writer, producer, executive, my own label. So I ran the gamut as far as what the music business is. And here I am now back performing. And I mean, I'm working more so now a lot than I was, you know, years ago, man. By God's grace, man, you know, people want to hear the record. The phone is ringing, and I just thank God for it, you know.
I don't want to hear it, baby. No, no.
I'm listening to a lot of 70s rock. That's what my wife likes. So I'm actually making a project with some 70s rock stuff, like Come On Baby, Light My Fire, James Taylor stuff, and enjoying listening to all kinds of jazz. I like jazz. So, you know, I've embarked on jazz. I was doing a lot of things in Bermuda with a jazz group, Nate Lucas and the All-Stars, and I was one of the vocalists for the group, and we traveled and did some great things musically. So I'm listening to a lot of jazz. I'm listening to 88.3. I'm listening to BLS. I'm listening to 94.7. I'm listening to 97.1. So I listen to hip hop, R&B, jazz, country, and just enjoying the music and understanding that, you know, we can't put ourselves in one genre of music. And when I was growing up, there wasn't a big black radio station. You know, you had a black DJ named Eddie O.J. And I forgot the station that was on, but we was listening to WABC, and they were playing stuff like the Three Dog Nights, the Fifth Dimensions, Elton John, the Eagles. And we had such a broad base of music growing up. And then they started just saying black radio. And now to look at it, it did us a disservice, because we started categorizing music. Because I remember making Casey and JoJo's first album. And I let Stevie Wonder had came to my office, and he was, I played him all my life. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, I shake my head like that too. So he was in the office, he said, it's a hit record. And then when I took it to the black music department, they said, oh, this is a pop record. And they started categorizing it. But what happened is the record was so huge, everybody played the record. It was just a black record, it was music. And that's what I always wanted to make. Is just music, not black music, not pop music. And, you know, I was able to do so, but it was a fight in the A&R. Back then it was hard back then as an A&R, because you had to fight for your projects. And now I think A&R is not as difficult, because a lot of times what they're doing is signing production deals with artists, and they just deliver the music. So, you know, I'm not saying that A&R is not working like we know, but I know I was making a record. I was making like 5 records at one time. I was making a Bobby Brown album. I was doing an album with James and Toomey, God rest his soul. That was a New York Undercover project. I was making an Allure album, Melchizedek album. I was making a Casey and Joe. I was making like 10 albums at one time, you know, and I was flying from here to Atlanta and to New York to, you know, all over the place just making records. So I think it was a beautiful thing. I think I was on the tail end of when the music business was the music business. Now it's a whole totally different game.
I want everybody out there to know that this song right here was from the Strictly Business soundtrack in 1991, so that makes it 31 years old. Produced by my man Dave Hall, written by myself and my man Eric Milton. So everybody out there, y'all ready to party? I said, are you ready to party? It's a true story. I need you all to do me one favor and please. We were so happy together when we first met. Oh, but you started acting crazy simple games. Come on, y'all. Leaving me, you know I can't let go now. And mistreating me, no, 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 no. Let me know. But baby, please stop calling me with your love. Ooh, yeah. Ow. You call me and told me, but it seems that you don't really want to. And now outside, I want everybody out there to check this out. Do this for me, baby. The roof is on fire. Say what? Come on now. When I say Jeff, you say red. Jeff, leave me. How can let go? Mistreated me. Let me know. Baby, please just stop calling me with your lies.
You Called and Told Me. You Called and Told Me was a song that was produced by Dave Jam Hall and written by myself and Eric Miltier. What happened with that song, Andre Harrell, God rest his soul, had brought the song to me because my first album had came out, which was A Quiet Storm, and off that song was Love High. And he was working on this movie project called Strictly Business. So he wanted me to have a song on the soundtrack. So he brought the song to me. I didn't like it at first because I didn't like what it was saying. I forgot what it was saying, but I said, yo, it's cool, but I got to write it. So I wrote the song. And when in the middle of writing the song, I had got a call from a little lady who I was seeing at the time. And she was like, yo, it's over. I heard you was with somebody else. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She hung the phone up. Then she called back and said, you just going to walk out of my life? Let me walk out of the life like that? I said, well, you called and told me you wanted to leave, but it seems that you don't want to leave. So that's where the lyrics derived from, and I started writing from that point on. It didn't come out the box as this great big record. It didn't. It came out as a song that was played. It was a song that people remember for Strictly Business soundtrack. And it was the last, and I forgot all about it, that it was the last song that they played in the club before the movie went out. And it was a slow walk. This wasn't an instant smash hit record. It was not. The record just took over. It took years for that record. And that record just sustained. Like, of course, we had the great help from Jimmy Jenkins from Uptown and all the guys who were doing the promotions, but that record slow walk. You know, it's the records that's, I believe in sometimes records take a long time to hit. And that record, when it came out, it was okay. I did work because of that record. I was doing a lot of stuff at Bentley's at the time and Silver Shadow. It wasn't called The Shadow, it was called Silver Shadow. Never performed at the Red Parrot. But I was doing a lot of things in a lot of clubs, but the record actually took off after it just did like this. And then it started soaring. And now here we are, like I said, 31 years later. And You Called and Told Me it's still around. I'm still working because of that song. And I thank all the people out there who have really helped that song. My man, Tommy Davis, Halle Berry was in the video. And that was like the first, I think she might have did 1 or 2 videos in her entire life. Mine was one of them. And I was glad because Kevin Hooks, you know, his father was an actor, but Kevin Hooks produced the movie, and my man Kim Watson, that's right, directed You Called and Told Me video. So it was great to have Halle Berry. Tommy Davidson is a good, dear friend of mine. And You Called and Told Me was just that song, man. That was a sample of, what's my man, Catch the Beat. God dog it. T-Ski Valley. He did a song, Catch the Beat. Dave Hall sampled it. And Eric Milton and I wrote it. And, it was a great thing. I'm glad that we did that record. I'm glad that God gave me the ideas to finish it up and pen it, man. So, you know, it was that type. People will know Jeff Red forever because he touched so many people's lives. Because of the music that I was able to be a part of. Because of the people that I've helped along the way. Because of my family, my wife, my children, just being able, like I said, to help people. People know me as A Quiet Storm. That was the name of my first project. But I named it that because I wanted to take the world by storm quietly. And by God's grace, I did.
Hey, yo, I bring that New York energy. Double shot of Hennessy. Cato that Don Julio, I got the remedy. Anybody speaking ill of me, they ain't a friend of me. Still up in the hood, but I got rich tendencies. She just trying to get flued out from John Kennedy. Couple shots in, making sure they want to feel on me.
No, it never happens like that. The first time I ever performed next to 50 on that stage in Coney Island, it was crazy. Our voice, our truth, that means to me freedom, being myself, being me, speaking for the voiceless. People who's too scared to speak up on things in life, on their hustles and real life stuff. Not all the glitz and glam all the time. It's not always about that. So I'm just here to speak my truth and to speak up for the unspoken and the unheard.
Hey, it's your girl Kyah Baby. I call this one right here California Dreams, you know? A lot of us got dreams to make it out the hood. Stuck where we at. Just know as long as you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want, you heard? Look. Hey. Check. Dreams of counting money till I pass out. I done took so many L's, I done lost count. I'm just trying to put my mama in a new house. Yeah, I love the hood, but I can't wait to move out. Stay dangerous, maintaining, stack paper like I'm playing Jenga. Never been a hater, that's why all my niggas ride for me. Whether they scammers, 9-to-5ers, or they gangbangers. Subaru, first two, that's who got my back. Red and blue, cause blue and white don't like no black. Even with our hands up, look how they act with us. I go so hard about this because I'm passionate. Used to see expired food up in them cabinets. So I got up on my grind, I can't be adequate. Far from average, God don't make no accidents. So when you speak about me, make sure that's accurate. I remember days when I didn't know how I would eat. Times when I was down and I got back up on my feet. Nights I couldn't sleep, had to use the oven for some heat. Nights I having California dreams, having California dreams. Yeah. Cruising down the west side streets, having California dreams. Yeah. Trying to catch a California breeze, having California dreams. Hey, dreams of cruising on the west side. Getting high, I'm just trying to live my best life. Word to lip, last time that I checked time. Like the hottest in the city, I'm just slept on. Straight facts, Maybachs. In the road, down the road, yeah, I pray for that. But overall, I pray that God can bring my brother back. I know it's really unrealistic, but I can't relax. Anxiety rising, see tears in my eyes, and I wipe them away before you even recognize them. Having California dreams got me fantasizing. Copping any coupe I wanted when I'm indecisive. Decisions. I can't wait to put my family in better positions. Give them roses while they're here like they play for the Pistons. Make reality from that I used to envision. But I'm gon' get it. I remember days when I didn't know how I would eat. Times when I was down and I got back up on my feet. Nights I couldn't sleep, had to use the oven for some heat. Nights I having California dreams, having California dreams. Yeah. Cruising down the west side streets, having California dreams. Yeah. Trying to catch a California breeze, having California dreams. Yeah. California dreams, baby. Videos out now too for that. Having California dreams. Hey.
What made me want to rap, I was playing around, I always played around with it. I always was excellent in English class. I think that was like my best favorite subject. I used to get like English reading awards, writing. I could read very well from a young age. I used to write poetry like in junior high school and stuff, not too much. And then once I got to high school, me and my friends would just play rapping, like just play around. They used to tell me like, no, you too nice. You can't play with us, like you can really rap. And people tell me all the time, like, you don't consider rapping, you consider rapping. First I was like, and I did try it. I went to the studio. I linked up with my friend Hits. He's from South Jamaica. Shout out to Hits. And he's the first one who actually gave me a chance. I would never forget the first boy I asked. He laughed at me. And now he's nowhere to be found. So, yeah, I reached out to him. And he taught me how to like write hooks. I had no idea what verses were, hooks were. You know, when you're just a consumer of music, you don't give a damn what a verse and a hook is. You just enjoy the song. We were team light work, but again, I was so young. It was just fun to me. It wasn't, I wanted to be a rapper. We were like neighborhood superstars, I guess you could say. Then I started working with Queens Flip. Shout out to Flip. He had his Get Light era going out here in Queens. He made that thing huge. Again, it was fun. moved on to another people. They wanted me to take it serious. And I tried. I ain't really like that. I got a gist of the music business early on, and I'm really grateful for it. Back then, I made a decision, like, I'm gonna do it, but my 9 to 5 at the time was more important to me, if I'm being honest. Like, it was certain events and things, I'm like, no, I'm not going, I got work tomorrow. Then I had like a, experience in life, unfortunately. I was doing illegal stuff here and there. I had a little sit down for about a month, and that's when I decided this is all I love to do. That's when I really thought, like, I really love music. I hate work, but I really love music. So once I discovered that was my passion, I took it and ran with it. I came out, I cleaned up my act, I did what I had to do, whatever programs I had to do. I got a job, I stacked up, and I quit my job about 3, going on 4 years now to pursue music fully. And that's what I do now, full-time artist. Hey.
The real is here. Yeah. I repeat, the real is here.
Yeah.
Baby mom, doing my hustlers right now. Grab a drink, push, running straight.
New energy's coming your way.
What you doing? We here to restore the feeling, baby.
That's right.
Yeah, matter of fact, how you say you from New York when I say you from New York? Hey, yo, suck my dick. Hey, yo, I bring that New York energy. Double shot of Hennessy. Cops all that Don Julio, I got the remedy. Anybody speaking ill of me, they ain't a friend of me. Still up in the hood, but I got rich tendencies. She just trying to get flued out from John Kennedy. Couple shots in, making sure they wanna feel on me. She ain't really into these niggas, she just pretend to be. Breasts all wiggly, all jiggly. Yeah, look at me. Yeah. You was about to do that like that. Yeah. Bringing new energy. We bringing new energy back to the city. Back to music, period. Kyah Baby. I'm here. Queens. New York. Worldwide. New energy, positive energy. This is what we doing now. Look. Hey, yo, I bring that New York energy. Double shot of Hennessy. Cops all that Don Julio, I got the remedy. Anybody speaking ill of me, they ain't a friend of me. Still up in the hood, but I got rich tendencies. She just trying to get flued out from John Kennedy. Couple shots in, making sure they wanna feel on me. She ain't really into these niggas, she just pretend to be. Breasts all wiggly, all jiggly. Yeah, look at me, whole crew be wild. Back that up like Meg Thee Stallion. Any party we attend, hoes neck be out. All breaking ass, shaking all up and down. Lead the club in the pig side, yeah we get it on this side. Bacon, egg, and cheese with a lobster neck with the ribeye. Either way, I'm eating it every day, I'ma get fly. And split it with my team, cause that's something we live by. 1 a.m. on my way to the club. Got bad bitches with me, about to turn shit up. By 3 a.m., Tim shot in the club. By the time we leave the spot, got him begging the I just could get a taste, he might do it again. I just pulled up in a race, I might do it again. If I did this shit once, I'ma do it again. Know I'm bad, get it back and go do it again. Yo, y'all know who I be. Live from the NYC. It's been a while, still no chick like me. Been top 3, high life, penthouse suite. Taking shots around 2, haven't been by 3. Got girls kissing girls like LGB. T's crossed, eyes dotted, still MVP. Been had cheese, provolone, Swiss no keys. You can tell I'm from New York, I pray my Tim's no please. Ha, real funny, been had money. And I been broke and bounced back, bad bunny. Hopping up a jet to land somewhere sunny. Hopping up the, look, I said I used to be way too broke to pop models. Now I'm in the VIP with top models. I just had a dream I was touching on Big Lotto. And blew $1 million once in the club like I hit the lotto. 1 a.m. on my way to the club. Got bad bitches with me about to turn shit up. By 3 a.m. Tim shot in the club. By the time we leave the spot, got him begging to let the get a taste, he wanna do it again. I just pulled up in a race, I might do it again. If I did this shit once, I could do it again. Know I'm bad, get it back and go do it again. Huh? Look, put your hands up. Everybody put them up, get your hands up. Right? Get your hands up. Everybody put them up, put your hands up. Yeah. New York to worldwide. New energy. Kyah Baby. That's what we doing. All 2023 and beyond. Yay. My goal is to leave a legendary mark. Every time I go, like, the more legendary people acknowledge me, the more I know I'm on the right path. Like, Jada Pinkett posted me, Erykah Badu, Missy Elliott took the time out to even comment on the California Dreams track I performed on my page, and I didn't even tag her in that shit. I did a whole Missy Elliott freestyle. She didn't like that or comment or nothing, so that told me that she went through my whole archive, and in fact, she was like, oh, I like this one. That meant a lot to me. 50 Cent shows me crazy love every time. So let me tell the story, actually, because people always swear I'm the 50 calls me, oh, come out and perform. No, it never happens like that. The first time I ever performed next to 50 on that stage in Coney Island, it was crazy.
And male groupies are 150 times worse than female groupies. So I'm not finna be getting knocked over, pushed, or whatever from men chasing another man to stand on stage. Like, I never understood that. So I stood the back. I went around the stage. My homie was like, yo, Kyah, come up here. Come on, you need to be up here. So I'm like, all right, cool. You're not from Southside. I hopped the side of the stage, pulled my homegirl up, I put my other homegirl up. We chilling. Then I just said, Kyah, where you at? Kyah. My friend's like, Kyah, I'm calling you. I'm like, what happened? He was like, yo, show him where you from. Show him what you do. You from Southside, represent. So I went, spit. The crowd went crazy. After that, opened so many doors for me. Like, people like 50 acknowledging me like I was getting into about the legends acknowledging me is there's a great feeling. So I'm not opposed to signing. If the deal is right, you know what I'm saying, a partnership or something, distribution is absolutely right, then let's do it. But I'm here to leave a legendary mark. You know what I'm saying? Be one of the legends, one of the GOATs. That's why I surround myself with legends and GOATs.